Marineford wasn't just a war, it was a warning. Because when most fans look back at Marineford, they see tragedy. Ace dying, Whitebeard falling, the Marines winning. But what if Marineford wasn't a climax of an era? What if it was the preview of the final war? Because Oda didn't just write a battle, he planted a blueprint for the war that would tear the entire world apart. And if you pay attention, Marineford wasn't about Ace. It was about something bigger, something the world government has been terrified of for 800 years. A war that won't be fought for territory, but for the truth. And by the end of this video, you'll realize something chilling. Marineford didn't end the Great Pirate Era. It showed us exactly how the final war will begin. Marineford was not just a battle, it was a stage. The world government didn't gather the Navy, the warlords, the admirals, and the entire global press because they needed to. They did it because they wanted the whole world to see one message. We decide who lives, we decide what justice is. Ace wasn't executed because he was a threat. Ace was executed because he was a symbol. He was the bloodline of Gold D. Roger. And the government wanted to publicly erase Roger's legacy, the same way they erased the ancient kingdom. Because that's what they do. They don't just kill people, they kill history, they kill narratives, they kill hope. Marineford wasn't the Marines versus Whitebeard pirates. It was the world government versus the idea that freedom can exist. And the terrifying part is, they were willing to sacrifice thousands of soldiers, destroy their own base, and unleash monsters like Akinu, just to make sure the world believed the government is untouchable. Marineford was propaganda, a controlled massacre, a message broadcast to the entire planet. Even the strongest man in the world dies when we decide. But here's the twist. Marineford wasn't their victory. Marineford was their mistake, because it reveals something they never meant to show. Marineford didn't just show us the power of the Navy, it showed us the power of hierarchy of the world. Because the war wasn't run by Sengoku, it wasn't even run by the admirals. The war was run by the fear of something above them. The Marines didn't execute Ace because Sengoku wanted to. They executed Ace because the world government demanded it. And that alone tells us the truth. The Marines are not the top of the pyramid. They are the weapon. And Marineford proved that the government is willing to use that weapon against anyone, even their own people. Look at what happened. When Whitebeard attacked, Sengoku's plan wasn't win honorably. It was trap them. Walls rose from the ground. The bay turned into a kill box. Pacifistas flooded the battlefield. They weren't fighting a war. They were conducting an extermination. And then Akinu did the unthinkable. He killed a Marine deserter, not a pirate, a Marine for hesitating. And that moment was one of the most important scenes in the entire arc, because it showed what the world government really is. Not justice, not order, but fear disguised as law. Marineford wasn't the Navy defending peace. It was the government showing the world, we own your life. And then Whitebeard said the sentence that cracked the entire system. He didn't say it with rage. He didn't say it dramatically. He said it like a prophecy. The One Piece is real. And suddenly, Marineford wasn't about Ace anymore. It became a spark. Because Whitebeard didn't just confirm treasure. He confirmed something the world government has spent centuries trying to bury. That Roger wasn't lying. That the final island exists. That history still exists. That the truth is still alive. And if the truth is still alive, then the government can be defeated. Marineford didn't end piracy. Marineford resurrected it. Marineford is Oda's most political arc for a reason, because it wasn't just a battle. It was a demonstration of how empires maintain control. Step 1, create an enemy. Step 2, publicly destroy that enemy. Step 3, broadcast it to the world. That's not justice. That's intimidation. And Oda made sure we understood that through the Marines themselves, because Marineford wasn't filled with evil people. It was filled with conflicted people. Garp hesitated, Aokiji questioned, Kizaru followed orders without emotion, and even Sengoku felt like he was carrying a burden he didn't fully agree with, which is exactly how real-world power works. Not everyone in the system is evil, but the system is designed so that obedience becomes survival. And the moment someone resists, they're erased. Sounds familiar? That's literally the Void Century. Marineford is the modern version of the same thing. Erase a bloodline, erase a symbol, erase a legacy. But Oda also showed us something else. Even a perfectly controlled system cannot control chaos. Because Marineford was not won by strategy. Marineford was ruined by the unpredictable. The world was changed by Luffy showing up, changed by Crocodile interfering, changed by Buggy broadcasting, changed by Shanks arriving. Marineford proved something terrifying for the world government. Freedom cannot be fully contained, and that's exactly what the final war will be. Here's the truth. Marineford was not the war of pirates versus Marines. It was the first visible clash of a war that has been happening in the shadows for 800 years. A war between two forces, the force that wants to control history and the force that wants to reveal it. Whitebeard's death wasn't just the death of a Yonko. It was the government trying to kill the last living witness to the old era. Because Whitebeard knew Roger, Whitebeard knew the truth, Whitebeard knew what the One Piece meant. And when he died, the government thought they had finally silenced the past, but they failed. Because before dying, Whitebeard passed the torch, not to Marco, not to his crew, but to the entire world. By confirming the One Piece, he ensured the great pirater would never die. And that's exactly what will happen in the final war. Except next time, it won't be one man declaring the truth. It will be the truth itself rising from the ocean. And Marineford foreshadowed every major piece of the final war. Let's break it down. Marineford was the first war fought in front of cameras. The entire world watched it live. That wasn't random. Because in One Piece, information is power. The world government controls the narrative through Morgans, through censorship, through fear. But Marineford showed what happened when truth becomes public. Buggy accidentally became the messenger of chaos, and in the final war, the broadcast won't be accidental. It'll be intentional. Because when the Straw Hats uncover the truth of the Void Century, it won't matter how strong the Marines are. The real weapon will be knowledge. The final war won't just be a fight. It'll be information apocalypse. The world will learn about Joy Boy, about the ancient kingdom, about what the celestial dragons really are. And once the world learns, the government collapses. Because empires don't fall when armies lose. They fall when people stop. They fall when people stop believing. Marineford already showed cracks in the Navy. Aokiji didn't have Akinu's conviction. Garp didn't have Sengoku's obedience. Even Smoker later rejects blind justice entirely. Marineford proved that the Marines aren't unified. They're chained. And in the final war, those chains break. Because the Marines will be forced to choose. Do they protect the celestial dragons or do they protect the people? And some of them will betray the government. Not because they become pirates, but because they finally realized they were never fighting for justice. They were fighting for rulers. This is why the Sword Organization exists. This is why Kobe exists. This is why Garp's legacy matters. Marineford was foreshadowing a civil war inside the Marines. At Marineford, the warlords were presented as the government's wild cards, but they weren't allies. They were tools, and most of them didn't even obey. Mihawk tested Luffy, Bull protected him. The warlord system was unstable, so what did the government do? They replaced humans with machines. The Pacifistas were the beginning, the Seraphim are the evolution. Marineford showed us the government's ultimate dream, a military force that doesn't hesitate, doesn't question, doesn't rebel. That's exactly what the Pacifistas represent, and the final war will be flooded with them, not just a few, an army, a replacement for human soldiers, and that is terrifying. When Shanks arrived, everyone stopped. Sengoku stopped, Akino stopped, even the pirates stopped. And that moment is often treated like Shanks is just that powerful. But I think it means something deeper. Shanks didn't stop the war because he was stronger. He stopped the war because he represents a balance the world government still fears. Shanks is connected to the celestial dragons, connected to the secrets of Marie Joie, connected to Roger, connected to the One Piece. Shanks is the bridge between worlds, and Marineford foreshadowed that the final war will involve that bridge collapsing. Because in the end, Shanks will have to choose a side, and when he does, the world ends. This is why Marineford hits harder every time you rewatch it, because it doesn't feel like a closed story. It feels like the opening chapter of a much bigger conflict. Marineford was the first time the world saw the monsters, but it was also the first time the world saw the cracks. Cracks in justice, cracks in authority, cracks in the illusion that the world government is invincible. And now in the Final Saga, those cracks are becoming fractures. The Revolutionary Army is moving. The ancient weapons are awakening. Vegapunk's technology is destabilizing the balance, and the truth of the Void Century is closer than ever. Marineford was the warning shot. The final war will be the bullet. So if Marineford was foreshadowing the final war, what exactly did it reveal? It revealed that the final war will be broadcast to the entire world. It revealed that the Marines will split into fractions. It revealed that the government's true weapon isn't an admiral, it's control of information. It revealed that the Seraphim and Pacifistas are just the beginning of the government's army that doesn't feel fear. And most importantly, it revealed that the war will not be about pirates fighting pirates. It would be about the world rising up against the throne. Because Marineford wasn't just about Ace. It was about proving that even if you kill a symbol, you can't kill the idea. And that's why the world government is doomed. Because the final war won't be fought by one crew. It will be fought by everyone Marineford created. The new generation, the worst generation, the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, the Revolutionary Army, and the nations Luffy saved. Marineford wasn't the end, it was the ignition. So here's the real question. If Marineford was the trailer, what is the final war going to look like when the truth is the weapon? And when the world finally learns what happened in the Void Century, who do you think will betray the world government first? Kobe, Fujitoro, Aokiji, or someone we haven't even considered? Drop your theories in the comments. And if you want more deep dive One Piece breakdowns that connect the past to the Final Saga, subscribe to Grand Line Report. Because the war that began at Marineford hasn't ended. It's only been waiting.